Hey up, welcome back. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Now, before I start, I could just as easily not have uploaded this video and saved myself a lot of exposure and grief and ridicule from some people, by far the tiny minority that like to engage in that sort of practice. But I'm hoping that you might learn from my rookie mistakes today. And there is a bit of a moral in this tale. So the context is, you may have seen a video or two back, I was talking about an oil leak on my Royal Enfield Classic 350 here. And I sort of asked for some pooled wisdom as to what the cause might be. And the vast majority of you, and thank you so much for replying, there were almost 100 responses. Vast majority of you basically agreeing with my theory that it was coming from the rocker box cover gasket, which was probably not seated properly by the mechanic that did the first service on this bike, which wasn't a Royal Enfield or mainstream dealership. Worth pointing that out at this point. So you all basically agreed with that. There were a couple of people that said, look, you can't put up a thumbnail that says major oil leak on Royal Enfield because it's not fair on Royal Enfield. Look, everybody who's watched this channel knows full well I am a massive admirer of Royal Enfield. Their entire commercial ethos, the bikes, the whole package basically. And so I've no issues there whatsoever. But oil leaks on bikes are a fact of life. Normally you get them on older bikes. Sometimes, for particular reasons, you get them on newer bikes, as in this case, but there's no reason why you can't put up a video about it, and there's no reason why you can't put up a catchy thumbnail as a bit of clickbait, because frankly, every YouTube creator does it. But anyway, that's by the by. Let's not get into that debate. And yeah, what a major oil leak, because it wasn't a tiny smidgen on the side, and it wasn't a medium oil leak where it sort of dribbles over other components on the bike and is fairly obvious. It were a major one because it had pissed out of the side of the engine all the way over the engine, the frame, everywhere and down my driveway, and created a big foot-long stain. So that's a major oil leak in my book. So anyway, that's got that out of the way. So I decided to be a have-a-go hero and try again where I'd previously given up, and try to remove this tank, take off the rocker box cover. I've got a new gasket, I've got some gasket sealant, I can check if the valve clearances have been done at the same time. Stop being a wimp, stop being pathetic, get your hands dirty, knuckle down, get it done. It's an easy job. Let me say from the word go that for experienced, competent, professional mechanics or experienced DIY mechanics, home mechanics, I'm sure this would be a very straightforward job. But for rookies like me, it's not. And if you're a rookie like me out there when it comes to spannering, then you might want to think long and hard about taking on something a little bit bigger than possibly that you can chew. It's all about being honest with yourself, and I wasn't being entirely honest with myself. So I go back to what I say. Oh, and thank you, Stuart Fillingham. Uncle Stuart, thank you very much for commenting. Your comments were very useful indeed, very much appreciated. I'm sure you're 100% right. And I'm sure that for you, the removal of the tank on your Royal Enfield Classic 350 was very straightforward and quote-unquote easy. But not on this one. So whether it's down to my utter incompetence, or whether it's down to this particular bike, or whether it's down to a combination of the two factors, I'm not entirely sure, but it's ended in a bit of a disaster, frankly. So let me talk you through it. So I took the seat off, undid the tank retaining bolt, lifted the tank up, propped it up, and managed to remove the two breather pipes, not a problem. Now the other two you need to remove is the fuel pump connector and the fuel line itself. So after a bit of fumbling about, because it's recessed into the bottom of the tank, I did eventually manage to free the fuel pump connector. Fine and dandy. 3 down, 1 to go. Comes to the fuel line. This is a compression joint, and the spring is inside the rubber, plastic, whatever cover that goes around the connector. And I fought and fought and fought with that, as I did the last time around. And no amount of squeezing, and I'm relatively strong. In fact, I'm pretty strong in the fingers because I'm a bit of a guitar player, so I've no lack of strength in my fingers. I couldn't make it happen at all. It would not come off. Special pair of pliers that exert pressure purely on the centre where the spring is, still wouldn't have it. Not coming off at all. The compression, the spring connector was depressing absolutely fine all the way, but there was no way on earth that thing was coming off. And I fought and fought and fought with it. And in the process of fighting with it, down to my own clumsiness and frustration, I've pushed the tank up too far, because access is half the battle. So I pushed the tank up too far, and in doing that, there suddenly was a snap, and where the fuel line connects to the bike, to the top of the engine, the bit that receives the clip, the plastic nozzle on whatever that assembly is at the top of the engine, that snapped clean off. I'll show you a picture of it here. So you can see there it's snapped clean off. So it's actually the part in the bike on top of the engine, whatever that part is, that needs replacing now. And obviously the bike's not rideable and will have to be recovered. And even, obviously, I managed to get the tank off then, because it bust. So I got the tank off, no problem. But even with the tank on the deck and pliers and a lot of effort and pulling and tugging and depressing that compression joint, there's no way that that fuel line would come away from the tank. So I was never ever going to do it, and I was never ever going to get that tank off. Now I wonder whether or not when that, I don't know this, but I'm just surmising, it's something a couple of you mentioned. I just wonder that when this bike came to have its first service, if the same problem was encountered with that absolutely jammed on fuel line, whether the tank has actually been taken off this bike, and whether there has been an attempt to sort the valve clearances, take the rocker box cover off, with the tank still in place. And that may well be, or may possibly be, the cause of the gasket not being seated properly and the bolts not being tightened properly. But I am speculating. I have to be entirely honest about that. I am speculating. But the facts do seem to stack up. So the moral of the tale is, man, know thyself, be aware of your limitations. I'm absolutely aware of my limitations now, because it's very, very easy when you get frustrated and you have a little bit too much determination and a little bit too little patience. All you need is a moment of distraction and you can find yourself in a whole world of pain, which is where I am now. So, yeah, I suppose removing a tank off a Classic 350 is an easy job, but occasionally it's not an easy job for whatever reason. So hope that's been of some use to you. Fortunately, I've got 3 bikes, so I've still got my Interceptor, I've still got the Pan-European. It's not as if I'm grounded, but I'm going to have to go speak to my wonderful friends now at Apple Yards, who are a Royal Enfield main dealership, and plead with them if they would be so kind as to come and pick up my bike, take it in and find a replacement part. Oh, and if any of you out there can tell me exactly which part it is that snapped off, because I include the photograph and a bit of footage for you, please let me know. But please, and I'm sure there's some people out there feel absolutely tempted to ridicule me and wax lyrical about incompetence and stupidity and boneheadedness and all the rest of it. Look, don't waste your time. Don't tell me what I already know. Don't waste your finger. Okay, go watch something else on telly. I know that this is a consequence of my own lack of attention to detail and lack of basic competence. So mea culpa on that front. Okay, so thank you for watching, and in the meantime, ride safe and be kind. I'll let you know how I progress, and I'll see you soon. Toodle pip!